All right, welcome again to a new episode of the KewCast. I'm John. I'm back from Dallas.
Welcome
I'm joined
back,
again
my man.
by my good friend Eddie.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm tired. I am beat up and tired.
Suck it up, big boy. Let's go.
I thought I was in my 20s again, competing in 3 events and having different events besides the tournament to go to. But it was a blast.
You were there for, what, 5 days?
Yeah, I went Tuesday because my sister lives in North Dallas, Plano, and my nephews. I haven't seen them in a hot minute. So I wanted to spend a day with them. We went out to eat at Hideaway Pizza. That's a place that started, I think, in Oklahoma. I used to work there in college as a graduate student at TU.
Sounds like a college joint.
Yeah, and then we ate there, so it brought back good memories. But yeah, we'll get into all the catch up in a minute.
Can't wait to hear about it.
Quick preview of the show. So we're going to get into Black Friday deals. I put a page up on my website, and I'll update it with all the best deals on paddles and can you stack the codes or not. Chat about that for a second. Then we're going to get into my Worlds experience. And if you watched any of the pro events, get your perspective on that. As always, we're not going to skip over paddles of the week. This week we're talking about this week we're talking about the Shapeshifter, the new shapes from Chorus, and the Volair CTRL Forzas. We're a little late to the game on that one, but I wanted to give our perspective on that. And then a little bit of gear of the week. Got some glasses in there. I wanted to get back. We haven't talked about our tip of the week in a good while, so I wanted to talk about a little bit about the mental game here. And then, yet again, gear deep dive. We are not skipping out on anything, Eddie. This is going to be a 3-hour-long episode.
Oh.
Q&A also.
I need to fuel up.
But let's talk about our 2 title sponsors for this. Can you have 2 title sponsors? We're doing it. We're breaking the mold here.
Okay. Got to front load this bad boy.
The first one is Pickleball Blue Book. Check out this sign. It's like the old-fashioned name tag on your
Straight
desk.
off the office desk from 1975.
So Pickleball Blue Book, it's basically a service that gives you a estimate of the cost of your paddle, it being used, similar to Kelly Blue Book. And it's powered by Get to 11, which is a retail shop. But Get to 11 does not buy the paddles for the price that you see. I think there was some confusion the last time we mentioned Pickleball Blue Book. So it'll give you a series of prices, like what does it cost new? Or what's the MSRP? What is it if you buy it and you sell it new? And then various conditions down to fair, basically, all beat up and used, right? And I gave the example, I think, last time of a Paddletech Bantam, ALWC. So original MSRP is $260. So the evaluations you get when you look at Pickleball Blue Book, new, $187. Down to fair, the lowest at $55. Now, the confusion last time was, Get to 11 is going to buy those for those prices so you can trade it in. No. They're just doing this as a service, basically, so people can trade person to person, right? They will, so Get to 11 will let you trade in any paddle that's at least usable. It can be beat up in fair condition, right? For 20% off of a new paddle. Okay. That's separate, though. And they do take those and donate those paddles to charity. And got a lot of good responses last time. People reached out to Get to 11. They sent them used paddles for kids groups and various charities. So anyway, good service, interesting. So if you're looking to sell your paddle on whatever, then go check it out.
So really the prices are for like a person-to-person sale.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
All right.
Moving on to our next
before you started
sponsor.
all this pickleball stuff, did you ever buy a used paddle?
Ooh, I don't think I ever bought a used paddle.
I don't think I ever did either.
Yeah. I think you gave me a used paddle. I gave you a used paddle. We were kind of trading paddles among friends, but it was never like, hey, can I buy this paddle from you?
Yeah, same. But I know there's people out there that don't mind that. And frankly, there's a lot of good usable performance left in a lot of paddles. So why not?
Yeah, and if you're a paddle addict and you want to get a new paddle and you want to get rid of yours, even if it's $50 or whatever, then it's probably useful to know what the price is.
We have a friend who kids around that she never hits the sweet spot on the paddle, and that's on purpose so she can sell it as a fairly new paddle with a fresh sweet spot.
I like it.
Yeah.
Fresh sweet spot. All right, next sponsor, Centerline Clothing. Eddie, you want to talk about Centerline?
Centerline's our favorite, right? For good ventilated clothing, high performance wear. This isn't necessarily something that is going to be for the mall or for the movie theater, but if you're looking for the highest performing outerwear, shirts, shorts, I haven't found anything better. Have you?
No. In fact, I'm wearing my new long sleeve
That
Centerline.
dark gray is
Which
fantastic.
is nice, yeah. And they do, I was noticing, so I played with it in the tournament in Dallas, and I didn't realize, I didn't look at the tech specs before I wore it, besides, the sun protection and all the wicking. But the sleeves, you can actually wipe sweat off of your forehead. And it works very well. They're very absorbent sleeves. And then I saw an advertisement, Thomas Wilson was talking about that. It's some kind of technology they put in here. I mean, it's not going to be as good as a towel, but it's certainly, I was like, oh, this is better than I thought it would be, because I had forgotten my towel over in my bag. So good stuff.
It's a fantastic hiking shirt too.
Is it?
Yeah, especially for Colorado where the sun just beats on you. Those, I don't know how many holes are in that shirt as far as perforations go, but it's such a cooling effect, and it's really good for hiking as well as pickleball, obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, I've got the shorts too, and I really enjoyed the shorts. I had one particular brand of shorts, but I'm wearing for years. It's not a pickleball related short, but once I put on those Centerline shorts, and they also have something on the pant of the short you can wipe your hand on.
I did not even notice that.
Yeah, and you get the sweat off. But the movement in those things is great. They're same high tech material as this.
Good stuff. Centerline.
20% off using the code John Q.
Moving on.
All right, let's move into the latest news and some gear gossip. So before we get into the Black Friday deals, Gearbox is doing a giveaway right now, and you can just sign up on their website. It pops right up when you go to Gearbox, the Gearbox website, to win an Ultimate Elongated and a Ultimate Hyper, which is their new wide body shape. So just thought I'd mention that. I don't know how many of those they're giving away, but they haven't even released the Hyper yet. It's coming out on the 26th, but that's the paddle I've been.
Have we even shown that on the podcast?
Yeah, I showed it in Dallas
Okay.
for that podcast. I'll talk more about it on my experience with it, and I definitely do a review for it.
I think one of our podcast episodes a while back, maybe we were talking about the Ultimate, but Howie, I think is his name, said, hey, Gearbox should do a wide body. And here's where we are. I don't think it's quite, is it a true wide body?
It is.
Okay.
It's a little bit shorter than 16, and then it's like 8.1 inches wide. Yeah, so
Okay.
just over the 8-inch.
But I remember
boundary.
that comment. I'm thinking, he's
Yeah.
on the right track.
Right. Well, glad it's here, almost here for everybody. All right, Future John here. I forgot to mention on the podcast that I do have a new Melin Code, which will go active at 12 p.m. Mountain Time on Wednesday, November 13th, which is about when I'll release this podcast. Going 24 hours to 12 p.m. Mountain on Thursday, November 14th. So it will be a 25% off all Melin hats, and the discount code will be Q25. That's KEW 25. Black Friday deals. I'll put a link in the description to a page I put on my website, but I basically reached out to all the big manufacturers who are producing paddles right now and asked them what their Black Friday deals are and if our code will stack, if codes in general will stack. And as expected, most people are doing big Black Friday sales. And I'll also put the date range. Like Gearbox is actually doing an entire month of sales. It's already going on currently with Gearbox. Others are restricting it from Black Friday to Cyber Monday. So that smaller period.
What do you mean by like code stacking?
Yeah, so they'll run like a site-wide 20% sale, and then if you use the code John Q, you'll get an additional 10% off. You can stack that code on top.
Oh,
of
fantastic!
there. Yeah,
okay, that's
and
great.
Not all of them are doing that, but most of them are. So, like I said, I'll continually update it. I haven't heard back from everybody, but some of the bigger sales are bread and butter. They have up to 50% off on some of their paddles. going Black Friday through Cyber Monday. That one does not stack with codes. Chorus is also going up to 50% on some of their paddle lines. So the Super Court, the Echo, and Daylight paddles, and the code does stack, so you can get 60% off of these paddles at Chorus. Carbon just reached out. I didn't get a chance to put that in the notes here, but I'll update the website soon. Franklin has a 30% off site-wide sale going from November 22nd through Cyber Monday, the 2nd of December. I'd say that I'd say the average is 20% off, usually select paddles, sometimes site-wide with a stacking code of 10%, so 30% off with the code John Q. So pretty fantastic stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you're looking for paddles, and there are a lot coming out this month, I'll be doing probably 2 reviews this week in addition to the podcast.
Well, more importantly, John, Black Friday means Thanksgiving is here.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite Thanksgiving dish? America wants to know. The world wants to know.
The world wants to know. That's a good question, Eddie. So
I should have saved it for the Q&A, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it now. Why not? Because I'm going to ask you the same thing. So on my mom's side, they grew up in the Deep South, right? And my grandmother, my mom's mom, made like cornbread, giblet gravy, and the turkey tasted different than any other turkey I've had. So giblet gravy, like the giblets are the organs of the turkey, right? And she put boiled eggs in it, and it sounds horrible, but it is actually really good. And it's a southern recipe that I've never quite seen other families use. So I love that southern twist to Thanksgiving. Otherwise, I use for myself when I'm cooking. I'm the only one in my family that will eat the giblet gravy. I still make a little side of it for myself. But I use the Martha Stewart recipe for basting the turkey. And that's slipping my mind. But what is it when you stick it in a barrel of salt water for
a brine?
Brining.
You gotta brine your bird.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. How about you, Eddie?
Same. I love the turkey, obviously. Brining is the way to go. Mm-hmm. A nice Cajun rub to get it going. Yep. Right. But the highlight is always stuffing. Mm-hmm. You got to nail the stuffing, or Thanksgiving is a complete bust.
Do you use a wheat-based stuffing or corn-based?
I'm actually good with all kinds of different stuffings. Cornbread stuffing, just a regular traditional stuffing, Italian sausage, oyster stuffing. I mean, I love them all.
I like it.
I saw on Bon Appetit, I think they were doing a fried rice stuffing, and that sounded amazing too. So bring on the stuffing. Like just 5 different kinds of stuffing and gravy.
I love the kind of worldly approach you're bringing into Thanksgiving.
East meets West. That's kind of like us, John.
That's right. Just like us. Yeah, cool. But just stuffing, I love the cornbread. I mean, I'll use both too, but give me some cornbread in there, and I'm happy.
All right.
All righty. Well,
Let's talk about your trip.
Let's move on. Yeah, it's been a trip. So I went to Worlds, the PPA tournament, and at Brookhaven Country Club in Dallas. People from Dallas will say it's not Dallas. I forget the name of the
this
town.
Isn't
but it's
Rockwall, is it?
No, maybe Rockwall was the tournament we went to. I can't recall. Anyway, It's technically not Dallas, but it feels like Dallas. Pretty close to downtown. And this was where Nationals was held last year, and Brookhaven Country Club, really fancy country club. There were a lot of complaints last year from various people because Nationals had moved from Indian Wells, California to Brookhaven Country Club in Texas, and a lot of people felt that was a downgrade. I'd never been to Indian Wells, famous tennis, location, but I didn't think it was bad last year. A couple of issues, like the bathrooms were not great, and there were some weather issues that were, unpreventable. But it was a bit of a mess for everybody involved in terms of organizing it, just because it was new and massive. This year, I feel like they really got things under control, and it ran a lot smoother. Bathrooms included were much better this year. And massive tournament. So I competed in 3 brackets, and there were, I want to say, 3,400 people in the tournament, amateurs
crazy.
as a whole, which is the largest by far I've ever been
It's
to.
like 3 times the size of it. And I've been to some pretty big tournaments.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right, that like the San Clemente tournament,
Yeah.
I think was just
1,000?
over 1,000. Yeah. And I got to say, whoever is organizing these tournaments, they need to give him or her both a raise because literally, if you were winning, as soon as you get off the court, you got a
That's
text
awesome.
saying you come up to get your scorecard, go to the next court. When you went in the back draw, I never waited more than 30 minutes, maybe close to an hour. But it was not the case where I've experienced before. You go into the back draw, or even if you were winning, sometimes there's hours of wait. It was not the case, even though this was the biggest tournament I've ever been to. So
I've never been in the back draw. What's that like?
you wouldn't know it. It doesn't matter to you. You'll never get there. But yeah, so I competed in mixed doubles on Wednesday for the 50 plus bracket 4.0. And on Saturday, I competed in the men's 4.0, and my partner reached out, JJ Gresko. I'd not met him before, but he has a YouTube channel. He's also a paddle reviewer. Go check him out at JJ Pickleball. I actually had seen his videos before. Funny story about that, too. Remember, I announced it on the podcast. You know, it wasn't planned, but I was like, I don't have a men's partner, don't have a mixed partner. Hit me up. So he was one of the people that hit me up, and I am horrible at Instagram messages, but he texted me, he messaged me on Instagram, and I got a text from Isaac, Chris's brother, saying, hey, I know this guy who wants to play with you. And I was like, great, send me his number. He sent me his number. I texted him like, let's do this. And he was like, okay. So we signed up together. Then I went back like a week later, and I was scrolling through Instagram messages, and I saw this message from JJ, and he was like, hey, would you want to play with me in a tournament? And I knew him when I saw him that I was like, oh, I know this guy. He does paddle reviews. And I was like, dude, so sorry. I'm already signed up for 3 events. I can't play with you because I didn't piece it together. And he was like, well, good thing for me. I'm already your partner. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm an idiot.
Very smooth.
So then I pieced it all together. It is JJ. We met. We got to play the day before. So we had a little practice together. And then the last event, I thought Jewel, my partner here from Colorado, mixed doubles partner, was not going to be able to make it, but we were able to change into the 35 plus bracket and play on Sunday. So I did those 3. So
That's nuts.
so going back to Wednesday, mixed doubles partner who also reached out to me after I announced it on the podcast, Christy Price, and we competed in the 50 plus 4.0. We also we both flew in on Tuesday, and that night I brought my sister with me because I was visiting her to the court near her house, and we were able to meet up with Matt, owner of Chorus, and Brian, owner of Graffiti, and Christy and I played against them, so they got us practiced up. And the next day, we competed, and we got off to a great start. We won the first 2 matches, and the third match, we won the first game, and we were like, all right, we're rolling. And second game, we lost, and then we went to 3, and we got, I think the score was like 11-8 or something fairly close. So we lost. We lost that match and went into the back draw. And I wasn't even looking at the bracket, but if we would have won that, we would have gone into the gold medal match. Yeah. And I don't know how.
Was it not a very big bracket?
It wasn't as massive as the younger brackets, but still a pretty big bracket. Anyway, went to the back draw and lost our next 2 matches. So we got put out 2-2. But we both played well. Christy played great. Very happy and happy that she could.
That was
come
4-0?
down. It was 4-0. Yeah.
Okay. Was it 4-0 competition?
It was 4-0 competition. Yeah, for sure. I did notice that it was a little less competitive in the 50 plus than the younger brackets.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Saturday, JJ and I competed. We won our first 2 matches, lost our third match pretty badly, and got put in the back draw. And we fought all the way back through the back draw to get bronze. You can't get gold or silver in the back draw.
Oh, you can't get
anymore.
silver either.
No, you can't go.
Well, that's a great result.
Yeah, we ended up playing, I think it was 8 matches total to get that bronze. And the last match was great. 2 Canadian guys. Steve was one of them. He has a big beard, and his last name is Mountain. And he calls himself the Mountain Man. He was just a character. And his partner was great, too. Good sports. And we had a ref on that one, and after that match, the ref was like, that was the most fun I've had at reffing a match all week long, because there was so much friendly banter. Oh, and Chris and Braden and a lot of and Justin were all there watching us and cheering us on. So great time. And then that whole week I was just busy. So Friday it rained all day. Thankfully, Chris had reserved a court at the Grove for us for 4 hours, and I played hard those entire 4 hours. And then we had a chorus event that night we went to where we got to try out all of Matt's new paddles with chorus, and I played hard for another 2 hours. So 6 hours of pickleball.
How are you still standing today?
The day before I was competing, and then I played hard all day long Saturday, and then Sunday I was wrecked. Like mentally, I could just feel like if you work out too much, like heavy weights, you just get neurally fatigued. That's where I was, and so poor Jewel. We went out 0-2 on Sunday. I was not playing my best. Jewel was playing great. I will definitely take ownership of our loss there. I would never throw games by any means, but after that second game was over, I was like, I can go sit down in the seat and watch the pros play.
I'll just throw it out. I think you need to reimburse Jewel for her trip.
Why not? I'll give her a few paddles. I'll pay her in paddles.
There you go.
But there was a blast. I had such a blast playing. We got to do a lot of cool stuff. Got to meet Justin. So Pickleball Etc. is his affiliation, but he's also the co-host of Pickleball Pursuit with Lewis.
Okay. Yeah.
Lewis was going to come and challenged. Well, the Olsen brothers challenged him and Justin also for a match, but unfortunately Lewis came down with COVID right before and couldn't travel. But I got to play with and meet Justin. Great guy, and he's their shtick is that they're not good at pickleball, but they're actually very good. I played with Justin at the Grove for those 4 hours, and he was hanging in there. His game reminds me a lot of my own. He's got a really good backhand block and flicks, good solid drives from the baseline, and solid player and fantastic guy. It was really good to meet him.
I was talking about your flick the other day, and I told the person I was talking to, if John's flick is on, he's practically unstoppable.
I don't know about that.
But when he's not on,
Yeah. I learned
he can still get by. not quite as consistently.
I learned real quick not to speed up at Justin, because he literally just put every one of those right back at you. Yeah, right at your feet usually. Now, one thing that was really working for me in the tournament was my Yates. For some reason, I just every match I got at least one Yates.
All right.
Yeah, I was going cross court with them, and they would just land right a foot from the baseline and clean winners. I got it at least 3 times in the final match for
You want
bronze.
to explain what that is?
Yeah, it's when you're doing backhand cross court dinks, and you fake like you're going backhand. You flip your paddle around this way, and you go down the line or kind of cross court, and just flipping your paddle over. You don't know where the opponents don't know where the ball's coming from or to, and it just goes them off.
It's a cool shot.
Yeah.
When done right.
When done right. But normally I have about a 50% chance of getting it in, and I was dialed in. So one redeeming quality. I don't know if I got any in with Jewel. I think I got one anyway. And the event. So we shot the podcast on Wednesday night from the venue. So the last podcast everybody saw was with the other podcasters, the other paddle reviewers. And Thursday night, I commentated the grudge match between the Olsen brothers and Braden and Brian. The Olsen brothers of Pickleball Studio, and Braden of Pickleball Effect, and Brian of Building Pickleball. Right? You remember Brian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The lead up to that was hilarious. Brian has a career, I think, in comedy sketches. Like, his videos had me rolling. He's like pretending like he was being interviewed, and was like, I don't want to hurt these children. Should I just play with the trainer paddle? And he's like the lowest duper. So it was all just trash talk, And Will and I ended up commentating, but unfortunately, Chris Carson was on the mic DJing during the match, and his mic turned our mic. He didn't know this, but it made our mics almost imperceptible. Like, it was so low. But I talked to the PPA, and they said, well, we've got it all recorded, and we can remix it and we'll re-upload it. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but hopefully at some point, because Will and I...
But that wasn't being shown live anywhere.
It was being it was live streamed.
Oh, okay.
In fact, it was on Grandstand Court, and there were more views for that match than any other pro match on Grandstand Court live that whole day. So the PPA was like, you guys have to do this again. This should be a regular thing. And I had so much fun commentating. Like Will and I were just having a blast. And I actually prepared a lot for that commentating. I sent everybody questions by email before, and got some background information on them. And I got all their paddles and looked at my metrics on them. And I was talking about the firepower of the paddles as they were playing, good times. Actually, Chris Carson came up afterwards, and I told him how much fun I had. He's like, well, we got to get you. He's like, honestly, come again. We'll get you with Dave Fleming. You can commentate a pro match. I was
Get out of here.
That would be awesome. That would be so much fun.
Yet another pickleball career for you.
No, that will not be another career.
Was it nerve-wracking?
It would be a lot of fun. No, I mean, I was nervous for them, Chris and Isaac and Braden and Brian being on Grandstand Court and having a crowd. It was delayed a bit, so the crowd that was there kind of winnowed down a bit. But I think there were like over 1,000 people live streaming it.
That's nuts.
Yeah, or maybe just under 1,000, but a lot. So they had a big audience. They were being interviewed between points by Chris, and it was a lot of fun. And there were some really good points in there too. Like kudos to Brian, even though his duper is like 4.4 and the others are all 5.0 or just close to it. He was playing really well, and he was playing for real. Like there was some real angst in Brian. All of his trash talk up to that point was just joking, but you could tell he wanted to win. He was in there to game, So it was a lot of fun.
So he was paired with Braden.
Yeah,
I
Braden.
gotcha.
Yeah, and so the winners.
So what was the outcome?
The winners were the Olsen brothers in two, but both of them were very close games. In fact, the second game they were up, I think, like 8-0, 8-1, and then Braden and Brian grinded back, and I think they got to, I want to say 9-11 was the final score. So good times, really good times.
Too fun.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Well, congrats to them for playing, but I also had fun watching and commentating. And then we went out to dinner that night with Garrett and the Carbon group, CRBN group. So thank you to Garrett for a nice dinner. I'll talk about the new glasses they have coming in the Gear Gossip section a little later. I've got to get those out of my bag. And then Friday night was the Chorus event where Matt let us play with the new fire paddles and the new shapes of the Shapeshifter. So, yeah, we can talk about the fire. I enjoyed it. It's very lightweight. So Matt is really good at kind of combining different parts of the paddle recipe that you can get at these factories into kind of novel, unique ways that have great performance. So, the Shapeshifter was a good example. He used the 18K toed carbon fiber cloth together with the carbon fiber, fiberglass carbon fiber layup. And just something about that paddle just worked really well. Super solid paddle, right? And
I think Matt's very, very gifted at optimizing like feel and sweet spot in a paddle. I mean, you could put together this particular combination or any particular combination of materials, but he spent so much time in just getting the right materials in the right way for just an amazing paddle. And they're not like going to be 100% on your firepower chart.
Right.
And they're not going to be over on the control side either, but he just has a way of getting that all-court feel just perfect, so dialed in.
For sure. Totally agree. And the fire paddles were definitely poppier. I can't remember all the specs. They come in that new 3 shapes that he has. So there's a standard or what? It's a standard, I think, a hybrid shape and an elongated shape. And it's the surface layup includes the PET titanium threads, but he was telling me that the very top layer over that twill cloth is a transparent fiberglass. So there's fiberglass right on the surface under the peel ply. So the peel ply is put on top of that transparent fiberglass. So the first thing to hit that ball is the peel ply, then the poppy fiberglass, and then the cloth underneath it kind of grabs it. And so you can feel the ball pops off a lot faster. It's definitely a poppier paddle than the Shapeshifter or any of their other paddles. And there's a good amount of power also with full swings. They come in very light. That's one thing I noticed. And I want to, I enjoyed them, but I think to open them up to how I like to play and what I like in a paddle, I would need at least 6 grams of tungsten or lead on them. So I'm looking forward to getting those and testing them. We both have some coming to us. They're supposed to be in today. We'll give more updates later. Perfect. And then we're going to talk about the Shapeshifter, the new shapes for those in the paddle section. So that's about it. I did sit down, have some time to watch a few of the pro matches. Lots of upsets this time. For sure. Holy cow. Did you get a chance to see the Johns brothers get taken out? And I think it was a round of 16.
I watched some men's doubles closer to the semifinals and finals, but I don't think I saw that particular one.
Yeah, Kwang Dong and CJ Klinger.
That's right.
Beat
CJ,
Ben and CJ. They were playing lights out. And I came in live at the very end of that, and then I went back and watched it that night. And it was just, Kwang, man, he from mid-court, he will just hit it as hard as he can, and it mostly goes in, right? He's just, that top spin he's generating is insane. And CJ, just those flicks and the movement and the trickery, it's just...
Those two guys, Hayden, I mean, the young guns are coming on hard.
Yeah, Hayden got gold with Riley.
Also, is that Riley's first gold?
This year, probably. Hasn't been doing the greatest. He's been taking a break, but it was good to see him again in the finals, especially with a new partner in Hayden. ALW and Parento also went down on Championship Sunday to Anna and Rachel, the girlies, as they call themselves.
I love those four. Watching those four is always just...
That was bananas. And it was a 3-game straight is what Anna and Rachel won. And I watched the night before in semis, and shoot, Tyra and Elise Jones nearly took out Rachel and Anna Bright. I mean, it was close. They went to 3. And Rachel and Anna were playing great. I think Rachel's definitely the X factor there, and she was just undefeatable on Sunday and a little less so on Saturday for semifinals. But that's not to take anything away from Tyra and Elise. They just played amazing. I was watching with my sister, and she just came from watching me play the bronze medal match, and I was like, you're going to see some very different pickleball here. She just started watching pickleball. And I was like, and as soon as she was watching them, she was like, oh my God, they don't miss anything. Elise was diving and rolling per usual. And,
she's nuts.
And
so fun to watch it.
Just the ability of all of those pro players to reset these insane speed ups and just get it just over the net.
The consistency on those shots in particular is just amazing.
More upsets were in singles where Michael Lloyd took out Ben Johns and then J.W. Johnson, and then finally Kwang Dong on his way to Championship Sunday, and he eventually lost to Fed. I watched that match in Championship Sunday. Fed, man, his game is just as leaps and bounds above where it was even a year ago. He's just become a phenomenal singles player.
Pickleball, man, it's getting tight at the top.
All right. Eddie, we better jump into paddles of the week. We're going to be running a long podcast.
All right. Where do you want to start? Volair?
Yeah, let's start Volair. They are behind you. So the Control Forzas, we've got the same shape. So the Control 1 is their elongated shape, and a Control 2 is their wide body shape.
How did they get this paddle to pass?
To pass color-wise. Right. I'm colorblind, and I can see that. But yeah, I mean, I haven't had much time to play with them. We played with them for a few games today. That's my first experience. And what I can say is that go watch Chris's review from Pickleball Studio, and I would agree with both of those reviews that it's a slightly poppier version of their raw carbon fiber. These are Kevlar weaves, same shapes, but otherwise they play nearly identical. By no means are these moving into this wide body is not moving into all court from its solid position as a control paddle, and the elongated is not changing much either.
For sure. I definitely felt that poppiness. I didn't hit them side by side, but just what I can recollect from my memory, it does feel a little bit more zingy.
Yeah.
The sweet spot's still there, though. I mean, that's what I loved about the Mach 2 was just how gigantic the sweet spot was. And you had a little weight because the swing weight on this is nothing.
No.
It just opens it up even more.
Yeah. And the poppiness actually surprised me. I thought it was going to feel more muted than the raw carbon fiber because that's usually the case with Kevlar, number one, and twill weaves that kind of grab the ball and it's a little more plush, but that did not feel that way at all on these. Both of them felt stiffer and a little bit poppier. So, if you are playing with one or both of these and you absolutely love it, the older versions, the raw carbon fiber versions, and the grit's worn out or you're looking to replace it and, you want a new colorway or you want to try just a little bit of poppier version of the one you have, then yeah, these are good options.
Honestly, I think I prefer this one. I was resetting a lot of blocks with the former paddle into the net. And these are just coming off in a very predictable way. Okay. Resets, I mean, this thing's a shield. You just hold it up, let the ball hit it, and it's going to go back right into the opponent's kitchen. It's a really nice reset machine. Really
solid control paddles. So it took me a couple of points to adjust. I was coming from the Gearbox Ultimate wide body, and my first two hits with this went straight into the net. And I was like, oh, you have to swing this paddle, right?
Is this the paddle that you hit the ball into the other court? Who was that?
No. Which one was that? I don't know. Oh, I was trying. Oh, yeah, I was trying an ATP and really arcing on it. And it hit the side of the paddle and flew off. I can't remember which paddle it was. Yeah, I think it was this one.
It might have been. I don't know how you missed the face on this, John.
It doesn't get any better than that.
The size of Rhode Island.
Oh, I can do it. Believe me. I can miss the sweet spot and the face entirely. But yeah, I mean, not much to say about these. They're subtle variations of their original.
Definitely an iteration over the last.
Sure.
Not revolutionary by any means.
All right. Moving on to, and those are both out. Moving on to as the namesake goes, the shapeshifters. They've shifted their shape.
Indeed.
So this is the original shape, and this was my main for a good 3-4 months. And this is a hybrid paddle, so somewhere between that 16.5 elongated and the 16.0 length for standard. Curved top. They've changed their shapes, and they're not getting rid of these, by the way. But the new shape, they come in 3 different shapes. So they have an HX, which is their hybrid shape, which is the same dimensions as the original shapeshifter. But it doesn't have a curved top. It's a square shape. It still has a flare going from the bottom to the top. So you're getting a little bit more at these edges.
You really got to be looking for that flare.
Yeah, it's a subtle flare. I think the handle is a little bit longer also. Yeah. So instead of 5.3 inches, it's now 5.5. So a little bit better for two-handed shots, a little bit more leverage with the longer handle. And they've tweaked some things besides the shapes. Well, while we're on the shapes, before we get into the other parts of the layup, this is the wide body. So the SX. And do you have the elongated over there? All right. Well,
nope. HX.
Okay. Well, just imagine this shape, but a little longer, right? Similar to the Carbon 1X, right? So an elongated rectangular paddle. So these are going to be the new shapes that Chorus offers for all of their paddle models. So each model will come in each of these 3 shapes, which I think is smart. So the different formulation comes with a little bit stiffer fiberglass. So again, this is carbon fiber, fiberglass, carbon fiber layup. Fiberglass adding a little bit of pop. Matt was saying they're using a denser fiberglass, which gives a little bit more rebound. I did notice that. It's a poppier paddle. Not by a large amount, but it has a little bit more pop than the original Shapeshifter. We'll get into our experience in a second. So a stronger fiberglass response. There's a reinforced carbon fiber second layer, more than their original Shapeshifter. A better handle with a more ergonomic design. And for the edge foam, they're using a denser EVA foam instead of the original foam. So that's what I have on the changes. Eddie, what are your thoughts on how it plays?
Yeah, so right out of the box, I pulled out that HX because it's, of the three, the closest one to the original Shapeshifter. So I just wanted to do an apples to apples to the extent possible. I would agree with you in that it's a little bit poppier. It's kind of like the Volair. It's an iteration over the original in that it adds a little bit of poppiness to the OG. Interestingly, the SX feels completely different than the HX. So that wide body shape felt much poppier than the HX to me. And I don't know if that's by design and that's intentional, but that's the way it felt to me. Much more power, much more pop. It feels like something that shouldn't even be in the Shapeshifter line.
Interesting. For the HX?
Yeah. For the SX.
SX was more powerful and poppier for you?
Yeah.
I did notice the increased pop on that one, and I thought it was because of a reduced swing weight and more maneuverability and ability to swing it a little quicker from a dead stop. I need more time with it before I can, I can see whether or not I agree with you on the power side of things. But I liked the wide body a lot. That's my favorite of the three shapes, and I think it suits the Shapeshifter really well. I do like overall kind of the increased pop that I was getting out of these compared to the original. However, like I said, I need more time with these, but they didn't feel as buttery for drops, I would say. That was one of the first things that attracted me to the Shapeshifter is from the baseline, and working my way through the transition zone, just dropping and resetting.
I would say the HX that shape is much closer to that plushness feel that you're used to in the Shapeshifter.
Yeah.
The SX is taking that away a little bit.
Okay.
For more power.
But I like both of those, but I do like the wide body better. I did measure for the HX just to compare apples to apples. So this new shape compared to the original Shapeshifter, and they're not far off in terms of swing weight and twist weight. So the original swing weight was 114, the new is 116, which makes sense. He's got a little bit more paddle up at the corners here. It's not a curved top. And then twist weight, the original was 6.57, the new was 6.63. So you're getting a little bit of boost in both swing weight and twist weight. I do feel like both of these, I haven't hit much with the elongated, but the hybrid and the wide body, both, for my preference, play better with a little bit of weight, right at 8 and 4 o'clock. That's my initial impression anyway. It kind of shores up some of the twisting that's inherent in any paddle, and it makes it just feel a little bit better in terms of plow through. But solid paddles, makes me the newer paddles always spin better, and it makes me realize that how much I'd beaten up my older Shapeshifters because I was getting some really good dip with these new paddles.
I really wanted to like that HX. It's I think the prettiest one out of the box, but dang it if I don't like the ugly one the best.
This is I agree. Not the most aesthetically pleasing, but boy, it performs, doesn't it?
Dang it, Matt.
Long handle on this, too. It's a 5.5 inch handle.
Yeah, I put weight on that one a little bit higher than I would normally, and it works out beautifully.
Did you put these?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 4 and 8 o'clock.
Yeah, normally I would start with weight on kind of the corners there, but I went a little higher on this one given the maneuverability of it. And it just...
Did you happen to get a swing weight on it or twist weight?
I don't have it with me. I have it at home.
I mean, it's a very maneuverable paddle. You can feel a significant difference,
yes,
even from the HX to the SX.
I want to say it's around 110, but I'm just...
That makes sense. I mean, it feels... And the twist weight must be, especially with weight on it, close to 7 now, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or in the 7s, above 7. Right? Stock, I imagine it's close to or at 7.
The consistency of the sweet spot on these paddles is really... Again, Matt does a great job of optimizing feel and sweet spot. And this one is very consistent like you would expect from Chorus.
Yeah. Oh, he's also dropping the price of the new shapes. So the lower price will be $175. So $157 after code. Good prices. One thing I want to mention too, I about his event. So he had the fires, the shapeshifters, and the super quartz. So he's changing the shape of the super quartz. It's not going to be that super long handle and the tiny head anymore, almost like a hybrid trainer paddle. He's doing it in these shapes, and it's going to be a cheaper paddle. And that thing was a solid hitter, especially I would say the SX was my favorite of those three. And I heard a lot of comments on the court that was people's top paddle. Between that and Shapeshifter and Fire, they're like, man, that was a sleeper paddle. I didn't expect to like this. It's just cheaper, and it's similar to Chorus's other paddles, especially the Shapeshifter. It doesn't do anything phenomenal. It's just an all-court paddle right in the middle of all-court, but the sweet spot felt great, super consistent. It just does what you need it to as a all-court paddle.
By the way, what do you think of these handles?
Yeah, I could tell the difference.
Yeah.
They feel
Very
a little
firm.
bit firmer for sure. I can't remember if they had the squishy pallets in the original Shapeshifters. I know that the latest ones they sent didn't have squishy handles, but I don't know if the circumference is a little bit smaller too. It just felt firmer, and I could feel the bevels on it in a bigger way.
Seems like the grip itself is a little tackier, a little less stock feeling, more custom, but I like the way it feels.
Good stuff.
All right,
let's move on to Gear of the Week. I have to go get my carbon glasses.
I will sit here and eat chips.
All right, like I said, at the carbon dinner, they graciously handed out their new line of glasses, which aren't out yet. They're coming out next week, and they're called the Carbon Drift glasses. So these are the photochromic, the ones that get darker in the sun. And they come with two other lens options, an amber. Are these amber? Or not so much? These are gold, I think, or orange reflective. These are their sunny lenses. That's amber, right?
It's hard to tell. The light keeps shifting on it. It looks more like rose, but then it's orange, so it's hard to tell.
Anyway, these are like their cloudier conditions. The orange is for sunny, and these get light for indoor and dark for outdoor. I really have been enjoying these. First of all, they're the most comfortable safety glasses, or sunglasses, I should say, I've ever worn. I get ear fatigue wearing any other glasses for a good period because of the hard. Even my readers, I'm sitting working all day. I take them off. I'm just like, oh, my ears ache. These have super soft, bendable ears to them, and they fit well. And I much prefer this shape over. I won't put these on because they're gonna look goofy with clear. Actually, they look good on you, Eddie, because you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They weigh nothing.
You should put these on just so people can see because they fit your face better. They look fine on me with the shaded stuff, with shaded lenses. But yeah, much more sophisticated looking, I'd say, than their first.
I like that they don't touch my cheek.
Okay,
normally that's a problem.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to swap out the lenses. I did that today, playing indoors.
They're feather light. They weigh
feather
nothing.
light. So I've been really enjoying these, and they're going to be just under $100, $95. So if you don't like the design, the style, I didn't care much for the style of this kind of ski goggle looking ones that they have out now. These are, in my opinion, a better style option.
I'm used to wearing more of a wrap style, but that's an interesting alternative.
Yeah.
Why don't you put them on, John?
All right. They look a little goofy with the clear lenses.
That's why I want you to put them on.
All right, here we go. Super nerd, right?
You look very Colorado.
Very Colorado. But I do like the look of these on me with the shaded lenses outside. Better than, well, I shouldn't say
So
better.
it's a single lens then?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. So the lens goes across the bridge.
Yep,
It's not two lenses.
Exactly.
Nice.
That makes it easier to change.
I wore them for maybe 2 seconds outside today, and the pop on them was really good. It's almost like the Briotti glasses in the amount of contrast that you get
Yeah,
on
I
the
should have.
pickleball court.
I should have slipped in the orange ones because those really pop.
Yeah.
I'd say they're comparable to the Briotti, and they're color adapted to the court. You can tell they put in some research to make the ball.
But again,
pop
that was
and the court
2
pop.
seconds of wearing them. I didn't even play a game with them.
Yeah, I played with them outdoor for a good amount of games yesterday, and then indoor for a couple hours today with the photochromic lenses. And I'd say that they're the best photochromic lenses I've played with, but they still don't get as clear as like indoor ultra clear lenses.
Yeah.
So just
That's the
something
key,
to
right?
consider.
I think it's reasonably easy to make an outdoor pair of glasses, but to nail that indoor, to get rid of that glare that you get from those overhead lights, that's
tough. Yeah.
it really is.
All right, so excited about those coming out next week from Carbon. So we haven't done this in a while. Let's go into tip of the week. And neither one of us are professing to be coaches, and we're not trying to give advice on playing, especially me. I could use all the advice I can get, but I'm not going to give other people advice unless they ask for it. But I do feel like we're kind of relatable people, and there are people about our level or above or below that could, maybe you're interested in some aspects of that helped our game. So I'm big into the mental game. I think that's where I could improve. That's the lowest hanging fruit for me to improve, because I do put in a lot of court time. I put a lot of drilling, and I've been trying to get better about consistently meditating. That was one of my New Year's resolutions.
Right. Episode 1.
From episode 1, and I haven't been doing it every day, but certainly I've been much more on it than I was last year. So, one thing I found is that at this tournament at Worlds, I was in a much better headspace than I usually am at tournaments. I mean, I always have a little bit of butterflies, starting especially the first game in the tournament, and I was able to control my mental chatter a lot better. And that kills your game so much, is when you get carried away in thoughts and you're like, if I lose this game, I go in the back draw, I'm going to have to play. Like that's such a performance killer. And it's something I've been working on and training with mindfulness meditation. I have the app Headspace. That's the app I use. And it's a deep, they have a deep selection of different programs in Headspace, and I'm not affiliated with them. I don't have affiliate code, but if you're looking for a good mindfulness meditation app, that's a good one. But the latest one I've been doing is called Sports Competition, and they're just talking about, I think there's eight episodes of that, and I've done them all 3 times over. You have to keep listening and doing these, and I think that it's really helped me. And one of the things that it trains you to do is focus on one particular part of your body and affiliate that with like when you've been playing well, when you were in the zone, and that's part of the meditation. So I chose just feeling my feet touching the ground, because I can do that on the court. So a lot of the techniques you can do at home for mindfulness meditation, you can't just bring it to the court, right? You're not going to do a full body scan before every serve, right? So you need something really quick, and just your foot touching the ground. If you can focus on that, it can bring you out of your head more easily into the moment, right? That's where you want to be when you're playing to maximize your performance. Is you want to be present. You don't want to be in your head, right? So there are a lot of tips and techniques and mindfulness meditation to get you into the present and away from the thoughts going in your head. But I just thought that was a good kind of tip that I brought into this tournament in particular. This is, like I said, one of the first times I felt like I was in a really good headspace. Even when we were losing, even when we went 0-2 on Sunday, that was more just me being exhausted and less about me being in my head and my game suffering because of that. But another thing is just everybody performs a little worse in tournaments, and just kind of inoculating yourself by doing more tournaments, even just local stuff, like little round robins, and making, competitive leagues, a priority and that sort of thing. Every time you get the butterflies, the next time it's a little bit easier to overcome those nerves. So that's another tip. How about you, Eddie? Do you have any tips for?
Well, I wish we were having this conversation in about a month or so, because I just bought this book. Do you know Dane Gingrich, that name?
Oh, yeah.
He's a senior tour player, I believe. But he's also kind of a mind coach, a sports coach.
Right.
And he has a new book called pickleball mindset, the blueprint for peak performance.
Yeah.
So I picked this up on Kindle, and I'm only a couple chapters into it, but so far it is really an excellent resource, particularly for people who struggle with kind of the why. Why are they doing this? What are they getting out of it? What
Right.
goals do they have for pickleball? If it's to win, well, guess what? That's not always going to happen. And so you've got to have something other than the win-loss sheet to
Right.
spur you on. And so the book so far is really good. Ask me again in a couple weeks, and I'll tell you what the rest of the book is like.
I've heard nothing but good things about that book. And
Okay,
I plan to pick
fantastic.
it up myself. I've been the go-to book I've used for pickleball up to now has been The Inner Game of Tennis, and it dovetails well with all of the mindfulness meditation techniques that you get practice on while you're doing meditation. But I'd love to read the Gingrich's book. Justin from the co-host of Pickleball Pursuit mentioned that in their last podcast also, that's really helped him.
Yeah, we'll put that on our holiday shopping guide.
Yes, for sure. Okay.
Nice.
Let's move on to some deep diving and gear. I can't get off the topic of polypropylene apparently. So I did want to kind of discuss what does cell size have to do with performance of a paddle. Cell size meaning when you take a look at a honeycomb polypropylene core, how big are those circles or hexagons within the core? And the standard size is 8 millimeters. And so most of the paddles you see on the wall, most of the paddles you played with, if they have a polypropylene core, which most paddles do, they're 8 millimeter diameter within those cells, right? However, they do make small cell and large cell paddles. So small cell would be 6 millimeters in diameter, and some popular ones there would be the original Apes Proline Energy. And do you remember how dense that paddle felt? I mean, heavy swing weight, but it just had that dense heavy plow through. That had a small cell size. Also, the Neonic Flow Prime X came out, and it's using that 6 millimeter smaller cell size. And then the Body Helix X2 Pro. Do you remember we played with that? It's a heavier paddle. So that's one of the things that smaller cell sizes do for a paddle is they increase the weight because it's basically making the polypropylene denser. Right? You're reducing the holes. You're adding more plastic in there because there's less space between the plastic. It's creating a denser feel and a heavier weight for the paddle. Everybody knows what the standard feels like, and then moving on to wide cell. So that's become a trend lately because Paddle Tech Bantam paddles have become so popular. They use a 10 millimeter wide polypropylene cell in their paddles. And what that feels like is a little more hollow. You also get a little bit more of a trampoline effect because it's a less dense core, and it's causing a little bit more dwell time or springiness. They feel springy. And that's not to say that every 10 millimeter core, polypropylene core, is going to feel just like a Bantam Paddle Tech because they're sourcing that from a factory here in the U.S., and there's something about that particular polypropylene grade from that factory that in and of itself gives the Bantams a unique experience. However, in general, you can say, yes, a wider cell polypropylene core is going to be lighter. It's going to be a little springier off the face, and it's going to feel a little bit more hollow than your standard or narrow cell polypropylene. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to clear that up. That's, we're seeing also more and more paddles adopting the wider cell. So the Spartus Olympus does not. They have the standard, but the new Vatic Sagas have adopted that wide cell. The 11624 Hirachi X Alpha also had a wider cell.
Those two are really good paddles.
Both good paddles.
Yeah.
I do like the feel of the wider cells.
Same.
Yeah. Something about that springiness together and the hollow feel, I do like the dense feel for some things, but the hollow feel also is good for other things,
Do you think we're at the kind of the edges of the envelope in terms of cell size, either from the small or the large?
I wonder, good question. I wonder if the large cell stopped at 10 millimeters only for passing deflection.
Right.
But if we're moving into COR and deflection is relaxed, then maybe we'll see a 12 millimeter cell and it's going to perform better or differently, right?
Yeah. Is the thickness of the walls standardized across polypropylene?
That's a really good question too. I don't know.
I'm just chock full of.
But that's a way to equalize things on the smaller end, because you don't want the paddle to get too heavy.
Right.
That turns off a lot of people. And I feel like that the Body Helix Pro Series was really heavy. You and I could play okay with it, but I think a lot of people would be turned off by that much swing weight. So maybe reducing the thickness of the ridges between those cells would fix that issue. And create, I do like the density and kind of some of the feel of the small cell feels really nice. And I think Neonic was smart in putting that on a thinner paddle, because if you go thin, well, I shouldn't say that. The ESQC 12.7 millimeter also has large cell polypropylene, but it feels great. And maybe it's an issue of the quality of that particular brand of polypropylene. But what I was going to say about Neonic is they chose to go thin on a 14 millimeter paddle, but use a smaller cell polypropylene, and it makes it feel just a little better. It doesn't feel tinny like a typical 14 millimeter. And I think it widens the sweet spot a bit too, because it has that denser feel. So yeah, a lot to play around with cell size but just in general, I kind of wanted to throw that out there that it does affect performance in predictable ways.
All right.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a deep dive. That's kind of a medium dive.
Yeah. A shallow dive.
Don't dive in the shallow end, John. How about
Okay.
some Q&A?
Q&A. So you're going to surprise me. I have not seen which questions you chose.
All right. This first one is from Rambo's Fist, 8657. Any updates on your Apes Pulse V?
Oh, good one. Good one. Yeah, so I played with it for a solid week more after my review. 2 weeks, actually, because now I'm remembering. And the last update I gave on Discord, not here on the podcast, was I used that paddle to hit the frozen balls. I think I mentioned it here on the podcast also. But 2 weeks ago, we did a frozen ball test to see which balls perform best in cold weather. And I literally stuck them in a deep freezer out in my garage overnight. And I'm just hammering away on these balls, serving 20, 40 times for each ball until they broke. And I used that Apes Pulse kind of to abuse it, right, to see if I could get it to break or break in anymore. And it didn't break, so the core is still intact. It doesn't not have core crushing or core corruption. And I think I maxed out the break-in, and it is still at the ESQC 14.3 level of firepower, and a similar balance of power and pop as that paddle, but it didn't go over that. So I've also been keeping up with Discord and staying in communication with Apes, and it doesn't seem to be as prevalent of an issue for the paddles to break in as much as mine did. So mine went from a all-court paddle, leaning power, into a power paddle, into almost top-tier power, right, at the ESQC level. Other people aren't experiencing that. They're experiencing a softening up of the paddle. It sounds a little deeper, but the power doesn't get as big of a difference as I saw. And I think that's your experience also.
That is exactly what I'm seeing with the S. I don't have a V at my disposal, so I've been using the more hybrid shape. And that's exactly how I would say it. It's gone from all-court leaning power to all-court leaning just a smidge more power.
No.
Not really even noticeable, but
Okay.
it has gotten to be a little bit more plush, a little softer, in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm about 12 hours into it now, maybe
Yeah.
14 hours, and it's right where I like it.
That's good. So would you describe it as like the foam perimeter softening up a bit, giving it a little bit more dwell time and forgiveness?
I would say dwell time, yes. I would say it's across the face, though.
Okay.
It's not in any particular location
Okay.
that I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, they did float the polypropylene in the foam, so maybe just that that floating, if the foam softens up, just makes it a better paddle overall. I can't speak.
All right, moving on. This one's from Ariana Wilson. Not really a question, but a comment. Awesome podcast. Love the Neonic Flow Prime X gradient edges.
Okay.
This is do we have that somewhere?
I was just looking for it. Look behind that Volair. Might be a second or third paddle then. No, that's the quartz.
No.
That's the rounded top. All right. We've lost it. It's in a pile somewhere.
Is that the one that has the flow shape?
Yeah, it's the one you hate. The
Yeah,
shape
that's
you
terrible. Sorry, Ariana. You're wrong.
So the gradient is subtle. I would say I like that gradient more than the original Gen 3 Yolas.
Yeah, but grab that one behind you though. That's the bomb diggity right there.
The shape, yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie he doesn't like the rounded top. But the gradient on that what color is the edge guard? Blue to white.
On that one?
No, the gradient on the flow.
Oh, the color gradient.
Uh-huh.
I think it's blue.
It's a subtle one, and I almost didn't notice it. So
yeah,
I would agree with her. I like
it's better than the Yolas as far as color goes. But the shape of that flow is not good.
All right, you got another?
Yeah, I do have another, and we kind of come back to this question from time to time, but and maybe in light of your current tournament experience, you can respond to this in a timely fashion. But this is from Kyle Pickleball. What's your current main? Or is that not possible with all the paddles you're endlessly testing?
Okay.
So I guess what's your main, but also what did you play with last week?
Oh, good point. So, yes, I don't really have a main anymore. So I've been testing so many paddles that since I put down the Shapeshifter, I really haven't had a main. And that was a good month ago, probably more. The ones I've been playing most with are the ones that I do a full review on. And I've been playing with others less so that I'm going to do some initial impressions videos of. So I went from basically the Shapeshifter to mostly the Pulse V, Apes Pulse V. I played with that for a few weeks leading up to the review and even after the review because I loved that thing so much. Then I had to put that down because I needed to focus on this new Gearbox. So the new Gearbox Hypershape, which is their wide body. And I did use the Gearbox in the tournament. I mentioned that in the last pod. So I used it for competition. Solid paddle. It's the biggest sweet spot by far on a Gearbox paddle that I have experienced. And like I mentioned, I think on last week's pod, when I reviewed the Elongated Ultimate, I said, yes, I can feel some of the things that Raphael was doing with the modulus and the orientation of the carbon fiber. I could feel some of it. Definitely was an improvement over in terms of sweet spot forgiveness over their original Pro Power Elongated. But that shape just didn't lend itself well to that technology. And I feel like this wide body shape opens up that technology for people to really feel. And it's a solid paddle. Very forgiving. It has one of the densest feel of a paddle hitting a ball. There's almost no vibration when you strike the ball. And there's stock, I feel like it has it. I haven't even measured the twist weight on this yet. Like I've been so happy with that. I put a tiny bit of weight on at 4 and 8, but it plays well stock, which is amazing for an edgeless paddle. And yeah, I'll do a full review of it and give you my full impressions. It does, and from what I've experienced, I have noticed a break-in for sure. It's gone from out of the box. I'd say it plays below the Paddletech Bantam firepower, but now it's above that. Yeah, so it's less easy to control, but you do adapt as it's getting hotter. But I did notice the last couple of matches I played in the tournament, I wasn't as confident with my drops and dinks as I was when I started it. And I kind of chalked it up to nerves, but I played with it again today and yesterday. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's definitely heating up. So there's that issue as with most foam enhanced paddles. But
all right.
Overall, fantastic paddle.
That's pretty close to being a main.
Yeah, for sure. How about you? What's your main?
Well, I have been playing with that Pulse a lot. I really like it. Looking forward to having a little bit more court time with the new shapeshifters and the fires. But as far as a paddle I would go to today for a tournament, and the one I'll go to Saturday for a little mini tournament, do you want to guess?
Spartus Olympus.
No, you'd be wrong about that.
Okay. Oh,
Here we go.
I know where we're going with this.
There it is.
Yeah.
Vatic Saga.
The Saga, solid paddle.
It's kind of like the Shapeshifter. It just does everything really well. It's not a power paddle. It's definitely an all-court solution.
Yeah.
But, man, it does a lot of things really well, really consistently. Super predictable. I love this paddle.
Yeah. I'd say it plays a lot like the original Vatic Prism Flash, but definitely with more trampoline feel to it. So with full drives, you can put a lot more power on it, but you still have good control with softer shots.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah. Would you put it right in the middle of all court, or where
I would.
you put it? Okay.
Yeah.
Good solid paddle.
I'm loving it.
One thing I love about Vatics too, the new Vatics give me the best spin. I feel like kind of
That's true.
top tier spin, and you can see the ball dust on every hit for the first 100 hits, and I love that.
And I dig the branding, too. I mean, they started with the Oni with this, and now with the Saga.
Yeah, that's
These
sharp.
kind of Eastern
Yeah,
anime characters.
yeah,
But that's pretty
super
cool.
sharp. Have you hit with the long handle on that yet?
I have, and it's not doing it for me as much as this one is.
Yeah.
As far as just
I
the
agree.
size and the dimensions of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
I'm loving this all court.
Actually, I forgot to mention, Chris did really well. Chris Olsen in men's singles, and he played with the Saga, and he won silver in men's 4.5 singles.
With the elongated or with this one?
No, just the regular
All right.
one. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that was a great match. He was playing great. I actually walked up in the second game, and just in time to see Chris running for a ball that his opponent hit way over on to Chris's right. Ran for it. He slid. I've never seen anybody slide that far. At least 10 feet. No joke. And then his opponent hit it the other direction. He ran and slid another 10
That's
feet
awesome.
and hit it into the net. I'm like, Chris, man, you need some new shoes.
Hey, one more question?
Uh-oh.
Can we do one more?
Yeah, we'll do one
it for
more.
fun.
Let's go.
From Ferris FCS 39. I see that skinny dip peanut butter cup. This was on the last episode. Those have been a lifesaver while doing keto.
Those things make me so happy. They're such good food. 2 grams of sugar in each one of those.
They are fantastic. I get mine at Costco, giant bag. It's just so good.
Yeah. I mean, for real, to me they taste better than a Reese's. Like
agree.
they're dark chocolate, and the peanut butter in there is nice and
I
rich.
agree. It's
and,
fantastic.
Yeah. Today we're not so healthy. We got some tortilla chips.
Now, time for a Costco run.
Time for a Costco run.
All right, John, that's it for Q&A.
That is it for the podcast, too.
All right. That's a good one.
Good times, Eddie. Good to be back, sitting across from you, and look forward to next week's.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Thanks.